Hi, I'm Jason Fitzgerald, the head coach of Strength Running, and today we're talking about how to know when you're ready to start marathon training. Because there is no couch to marathon program. You need some basic level of foundational fitness before you ever even begin to think about marathon training. So how do you know when you're ready? Should you start a marathon when you've been running for a year, 6 months, 3 months? Well, it's not really about how long you've been running, it's about what your current capabilities are. Are you comfortable running a certain amount of mileage per week? Are you comfortable running a certain long run mileage number? Those are the things that I look for as a coach when runners ask me this question. So if you are getting ready to think about marathon training, here are some criteria that I use to determine whether or not you're even ready to begin the training. Because if you're not ready, then you shouldn't start. You kind of need to train for the training. And that's going to ensure that you don't have to progress too rapidly. In other words, building your mileage and your long run distance too fast. That's just going to result in injuries. Nobody wants that. And so let's use these criteria to determine if you're ready to start marathon training. It's going to make your training a lot easier, and it's going to make the race itself a lot more rewarding. The last thing you want to do is to shortchange yourself in training. Then you get to the race and you have a very difficult experience because you're simply not prepared to run 26.2 miles. First thing I look for is time. How much time do you have until the race? If the race is a week from now, you don't have enough time. But if the race is somewhere between 12 and 20 weeks away, you might have enough time. And it's really about your current workload. How much are you running? What's your weekly mileage like? What is your long run distance at? And can you progress to a training level that's going to prepare you for the marathon distance in the time that you have? It's all about progressing intelligently over time and just seeing, do you have enough time to get to a marathon ready level? Now, the second thing to look for is the distance of your long run. I like to see runners being able to comfortably run 10 miles as their long run about 16 weeks out from the race. And this allows us to intelligently build their long run distance over time so that we're not risking an injury and they can get their distance up to roughly 20 miles or so before the race. That's going to give them the physical tools to finish 26.2 miles on race day. It's also going to give them the confidence that they can finish the race on race day. So if you're not at 10 miles, about 16 weeks out from your goal marathon, let's wait. Let's give yourself more time so that you have more time to prepare and build your capabilities up. Finally, let's look at your weekly mileage. Now, if you're running 5 miles a week and you want to race a 26.2 mile race, it's going to take more than 3 or 4 months to get you there. So your weekly mileage is an important metric that tells a coach what kind of workload you're capable of and how much stress that you're experiencing on a weekly basis. So I like to see runners at a minimum running 20 to 25 miles a week about 16 or 18 weeks out from the marathon. This tells me that they have a basic level of fitness, a foundation of endurance, if you will, and this will then allow that runner to progress, to build that mileage, and to more specifically build their long run so that by the time the race comes around, they have the endurance and the miles on their legs to carry them to the finish line. All right, let's talk about a bonus. This is not something that you absolutely have to do, but because marathon training is stressful, because it is challenging, and because it has a higher injury risk, because you are going to be running more and running much longer long runs than you're probably used to, I do like to see runners coming into the beginning of marathon training with some strength training experience. Now, I frequently talk about progression when it comes to strength training for runners. And so you don't have to be in the weight room throwing around heavy barbells, doing Olympic lifts and all this crazy stuff. You do have to do some kind of consistent strength work on a weekly basis. It is your insurance against injuries. So if we are using my sandwiching method, which is simply sandwiching your run between a dynamic warm-up before you head out to run and then a runner-specific core or strength routine afterwards, then that is going to take care of 80% of your strength training. And if that's all you did, then I'd be pretty happy with it. We can get into the heavier weightlifting, we can get into the gym workouts that you might do with actual real weightlifting workouts. But let's just focus on the body weight work for now, because number one, most runners can do body weight work. You don't need a gym to do it. You can do it almost anywhere, even a very cramped hotel room if you happen to travel a lot for your job. And what this strength training is going to do is it's going to toughen your connective tissues, your bones, your muscles, all of the things that are going to be put under a lot more stress as you increase your mileage and your long run. So let's make sure we're doing some strength work. Let's make sure it's consistent so that we are continually providing ourselves that insurance against injuries. And you're probably going to feel a lot better too as you go through your marathon training. You're going to be less susceptible to those aches and pains and small niggles, and you're just going to feel a little bit more fluid and responsive when you head out there for your run. Above all, I want to encourage you to be process oriented. Marathons are very difficult, and if you are someone who focuses on the process of training, checking off all the boxes, doing what you should be doing, and not skipping things or rushing your training, you're going to be someone who not only has a great first marathon experience, but you might even surprise yourself with how fast you can run your first marathon. It's those runners that don't adhere to the process, that rush their training, that think they can get away with doing less when doing more is almost always better, that end up injured or that end up with a really tough first marathon. And we don't want that to happen, because the last thing you want is a very challenging first marathon. It's going to knock your confidence, and it's going to prevent you from getting back on the horse again, getting back to training and progressing and keep chasing after those PRs. So from the interest of just our own runner psychology and our confidence, let's make sure we're doing the training necessary for the actual marathon itself, and you're going to be such a better runner for it. So I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any marathon questions down in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer as many as I can. And do hit that subscribe button. We're posting a lot more videos.